Welcome to Business Unveiled Podcast. This is the place where we help overwhelmed, time-starved entrepreneurs like you make the profitable shifts to get more done and get more out of life. I'm your host, Angela Proffitt, award-winning 8-figure entrepreneur and CEO. And in every episode of Business Unveiled, I'm bringing you conversations that will give you the expertise and strategies that will scale your team and business so you can get shit done. That's GSD in our world. So get your time back and grow a business that helps you be present in your life. Let's do this, y'all.
Hold on. Okay, is this on?
So naturally, Angela's destroying the place. She's knocking stuff over. Oh my gosh. Let's not get concussions. Okay.
You're doing your 15 to 20.
Okay, 15 to 20. Well, like most people, I started high school. I actually really liked my high school. It was pretty, everybody was pretty close-knit. I didn't feel like there was much cliquiness. I mean, of course it existed, but it's like, you're not going to get past that.
Right.
Oh, I got my first job at 15.
At a Dippin' Dots place?
It was a marble slab.
Oh, okay. I knew it had to do with ice cream.
It was ice cream. And
ice cream. We scream for ice cream.
Yeah, I didn't love that job, but I think, not everybody gets their first job at 15, so I was pretty proud of myself.
15.
Sing it.
The Taylor Swift song.
Yeah. No.
I can't sing.
Yeah, so that was when I was 15. Let's see, did anything significant happen when I was 16? I don't think that it did, honestly. 16...
You get a car? License?
Oh my God, y'all. You can actually get your permit in Tennessee at 15.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. This is what people should take away from this, I'm going to say. I should say that better.
Come in close.
This is what the takeaway is. Not everybody learns the same way, and not everybody can show their knowledge in the same way. So I made great friends with the DMV of Sumner County.
The driving place?
Yes, because
Are you a bad driver?
I spent so much time there.
You tell me I'm a bad driver.
No, I'm not a bad driver. I just failed my permit test 5 times.
Why?
Well,
You don't do well under testing.
I don't. I'm bad at testing. I am
too.
bad at testing. Hold on
Me too,
one
I
second.
understand.
We have guacamole.
It's our guacamole.
We're so excited. Hi.
Hi.
Sorry, we put the table up here.
We're going to eat our guacamole.
Thank
up
you.
here.
They're probably still making it. Alcohol is not going to hydrate you. It was a computerized test, and you knew how many questions you could miss. And every time that you got one wrong, it flashed up. No! It was wrong on the screen, incorrect. And I was like, oh shit. And so it just built up this nervousness in me, and I was just I was oh my God, I can only miss one more. And then I went and missed it. So I failed it so many times, and then I went in to take it another one of the times, and my proof of school had expired. It only lasts for a month. So, and you can only take the test once a week.
Do you have to be enrolled in school to get your license?
Yes. At that time, anyway, you had to get proof of that you were going to school. And so I had to get a new proof of school. And then finally, I told them, I was like, hey, I know this stuff. Your test is just freaking me out. So I asked them if I could take a written test, and I did. Paper and pencil, and I passed it. I only missed one question.
Booyah.
So if you ever feel like you know things, but you're not getting the opportunity to know it your way, adapt. Always.
And ask questions.
Yeah. Usually there's a workaround in some way that you can
I love how proactive
you can get through it. Yeah. So shout out to my dad for bringing me to the DMV so many times too. So that was actually interesting about 15. And then 16, I passed my driver's test with flying colors. I actually went through a driver's school, and we had to parallel park, and I had to drive downtown. I almost hit a taxi. I was terrified, but I passed.
Wow.
I passed.
I'm proud of you.
Between those years, I got my first boyfriend. Not the best thing in the world, but you live and learn. When you're young, you don't know what love is. And then I think we broke up when I was 19.
That's like a long relationship.
It was 2 years.
Yeah. I did those things too.
I did those things too. Those stupid things. And then, let's see, when I was, I graduated high school, then I started going to college. I don't know, I guess at 19? I don't know, just the basic stuff. Nothing really crazy happened during that time. I was working at a family-owned company, and this is kind of what started me into events, is I was overseeing their rental department as an 18-year-old.
An organized 18-year-old.
Yes, and
You
I
learned that from a guidance counselor.
some of it was natural, but yeah. So that kind of I started in like the events world at 18. It was the day I graduated was the first day that I started working there.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, and that's what gave me the start in that.
My 15 to 20 gets really interesting.
Ooh.
And this is where shit gets real crazy. Okay. So I think when I didn't get my driver's license right away when I was 16 because I had a boyfriend that was 16. And he was the deacon's grandson at our church. And my parents loved that. So they let me ride in the car with him. So he drove me around. And he would come over every morning and see me. He lived behind me.
How cute.
It was, yeah, cute. So he was my first couple years high school boyfriend.
My boyfriend was not religious.
Oh, that's a different story. That's a crazy story. But the problem was we had a trampoline in the backyard, and I spent a lot of time on the trampoline working out and flipping and twisting and prepping myself for gymnastics things and cheerleading and all this stuff.
Flipping and twisting.
And then there was this guy named Ron. My boyfriend's name was Jeff, the basic white boy name. And Ron was a football player at Mount Juliet High School. And Ron had a red truck.
Hey, Ron.
And we were just friends. But he was so muscular. And he looked like
He was so muscular and high.
Incredible Hulk. Yes, it was insane. But he was a new kid in town. He moved there for I don't know. I'm making this up. I don't know why he moved.
He said he moved here for football.
I think so. Because he was this buff.
He moved here to play high school football.
I'm totally making this up. Anyway, so I was cheating on Chup with Ron, and he saw me with binoculars because Ron and I were making out on the trampoline, and he saw me through the bushes because he lived behind me on this hill.
Wait.
Anyway.
Wait. You were making out with Ron on the trampoline when you knew that Jeff could see?
I wasn't thinking.
What's wrong with you?
I think I was 17. No, I was 16. I was 16 years old. Okay. So then Jeff got so mad and comes over, and my mother loves what are those things called? Bird cage things that hang in the yard.
Bird feeders.
Bird feeders, yes. She had a favorite bird feeder. And he walked in and he punched the bird feeder, and it busted and went everywhere. And
That is so mean.
it is so mean. And
This
my
was
mother.
Jeff? This
was the deacon's grandson.
Holy Jeff?
Yes. Oh my God, y'all. So then, there were just so many things there. But, let's see. Okay, so then my junior year, me and Jeff were done, then me and Ron were done too. And so then I got a boyfriend, Mario. He was super Italian. And Mario was really fun, but we were just alike in so many ways. And we wanted to kill each other at times. But we had the most fun. It really wasn't, but I mean, he was the first boy that, he kind of was going to ask me to marry him, but that didn't happen. We were just way too young, right? And we used to talk on a payphone, and we had a beeper. Actually, my first cell phone,
We would beep each other.
my first real cell phone, his mother paid for on their family plan. Like, that was the kind of girlfriend I was. Yeah.
You were well liked.
Yeah, I loved his family, and he loved my family. Like, we have some major effing history, like, I'm about to tell you. Because these were, like, highs and lows, like, that I'll never forget. Because I almost died. I thought I was going to die. So, yeah, he was, like, my senior year boyfriend. Okay, so me and Mario had fun. There's a few really big things here. Okay, so the first is we would sneak out. And one of the first times I snuck out, my sister goes and tells on me and tells my parents I'm running away. She knew exactly what the fuck I was doing. Little snark. And so I get this
narc.
Snark.
Make
Isn't
sure
that
of
what
a
it is?
snot and a narc. You little snark.
Just beep it out. Anyway,
Anyway.
moving on. So it's like 3:30 in the morning, and I get a beep. 754-6113 was my home phone number.
This is probably way not your generation, but if anyone remembers Kim Possible, that's what that made me think of, because the theme song was like, call me, beat me if you want to reach me. She was Kim Possible.
Everything's possible with a beep away. I'm just a
that was
beep
the song.
away.
That's
Oh
what it
my
made me
God, that's
think
what it
of.
is. I don't know what that is, but anyway. So
You snuck out with Mario.
Yeah, I
and
did.
Your sister snarked on you.
she did. But anyway, so I'm like, oh my God, you got to drive me home. Like, I'm going to get the shit beaten out of me. And I mean, I kind of deserved it. So I was perfectly prepared with a stiff, tight ass. I mean, my dad would take a belt or a switch and like fucking just, I mean, we were tame kids. Let me just tell you that. We were good kids. So my sister told on me. He would not even pull in the cul-de-sac. He left me at this end of the street because he's like, your dad's going to shoot me or kill me. So you have to get out of my car and walk to your street.
I mean, I have a story kind of like this, but I don't know that I could share it with the public.
Oh, do you want to think about it?
I don't know.
Okay, well, think about it. We might circle
my
back.
boyfriend's car getting stuck in the sand at the lake down the road from my parents' house.
Did you go to jail?
I walked home.
By yourself?
It was past curfew. He walked me to the end of the street and then watched me walk home.
Yeah.
And then I think him and his friends had to like find some way to get his car out of the sand in the middle of the night.
That sucks.
Not my problem.
Yeah, not your problem.
I told him not to park it there. He was just stupid.
Guys, listen, you should just listen to the ladies sometimes. But sometimes the guys know. So, I walked in the front door, and the steps were right at the front door. And he was sitting on the steps, and he looked at me and said, Angela, if our house caught on fire, you've heard this story, and everyone ran outside, and you weren't out there, and I went in to save you, and you weren't in your bed, and I died, how would you feel? And I just busted out crying. I'm like, Daddy, I'll never, ever, ever sneak out again. And he's like, at least leave a goddamn Post-it note. So our family lived and communicated and breathed by yellow Post-it notes on the microwave. And, I mean, so many secrets were revealed from the Post-it note microwave days.
Secrets?
The biggest is when my sister thought she had the flu, and the doctor's office called with the results. They were positive, and my little brother answered the phone and took down the number. So my mother called back. My mother, this was prior to HIPAA, okay? And she's like, does Ashley, Young have blah, blah, blah.
Her daughter, was she under 18?
Yes, she was. You're right.
So that's why they
Yeah.
tell her.
Yeah, you're right.
She's a guardian.
So she's like, well, the test is positive. And she's like, okay, so she has the flu. So are you going to call in something? She's like, no, her pregnancy test is positive. Now, we were raised that you don't have sex before you get married. Okay, that's a different day for a different story.
You
But
told your mom she was going to get a test for the flu.
correct, because she was sick. Well, she was just preggo, and that's why she was sick. Anyway, so my dad was really angry, but he did not beat me. He did not give me a spanking. And it was just more impactful, and like it just taught me that you've got to think about the consequences and quit being selfish and like thinking of yourself in that moment.
think about others and, like,
Yeah.
the people that love you. Like, yeah, they may not approve of what you're doing, but they love you. That all of that doesn't matter if something were to happen.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that you're doing something they don't approve of doesn't matter.
Yeah, he's so I would often, like, at 3:00 in the morning, go to Waffle House, and I would leave a Post-it note, on the microwave.
You telling your stories is making me think of my stories. When I was 17 with my high school boyfriend, my parents didn't like him, which, good reason. But, you're in high school, you don't know anything.
know.
And my dad was out of town, and I was grounded from seeing my boyfriend.
What'd you do?
I don't remember. It was probably had something to do with the phone bill. Because at that point, like, there was no unlimited talk and text.
Unlimited data plan.
Like, so that was probably what it was about. It was really bad. Like, one of the times the bill was really high, and I just didn't know. But yeah, my mom and this girl that is like my sister who was living with us, they went, like, downtown, and they asked if I wanted to come, but I didn't want to come because I wanted to sneak and go see my boyfriend. Well, I met him, like, at Barnes and Noble or something, and then I was going to drive him home. I went to drive him home, and on the way home I got in a car accident.
A bad one?
Totally totaled my car. It was head-on, driver's side. Luckily, we were both okay. It could have been much, much worse. But it was bad. I was in, like, a little sedan and was hit by, like, a big SUV. And I think that was the last time I snuck out to do anything. And, like, my dad was out of town because he was touring. I think he was in Canada. And, like, I just remember, like, I didn't ask for an ambulance, but I was, like, blood vessels busted head to toe. My ribs were bruised. My kneecaps were, like, busted. Like, my neck was, like, in so much pain. Because, like, when you get in a car accident, like, you're supposed to be, like, but you, like, clench up.
Oh, hell yeah.
You, like, stiffen and, like, oh my gosh, I was in so much pain for, like, weeks. But, yeah, we weren't supposed to be together, but my mom's really wonderful about things like this. Like, she's like, obviously, she noticed it. And she knew we were not supposed to be, but she did not care at that moment. Yeah. Like, and we never really talked about it. Yeah. And I just remember, like, I had burns from the airbags, like, up and down my arms. And I just remember there was this police officer on a bike. He was the first one who showed up. And it was dark, and I kept asking him, I'm like, I'm okay. I was like, I'm fine, but, like, can you shine your flashlight on my arm again? Because it was burning so bad. And he's like, do you want me to call you an ambulance? And I was like, no, like, I'm fine, but can you look at my arm? Like, I kept asking him. My mom got there, and I was like, she's like, oh my God, I'm so glad you're okay. And I was like, yeah, I just want to go home. And she's like, no, we're going to the emergency room. Yeah. So we went to the ER. I was cold, which I'm always cold. He thought that I was going into shock because he brought in, like, all these gauze blankets, and he was, like, tucking them around me, and he's like, you will be fine, you will be warm. And I'm like, okay. And so, yeah, and so I had, like, x-rays done, like, head to toe, and, like, went home. My dad called, like, at 2 a.m. We were in the ER for, like, 8 hours. And, like, I think that was a super big learning lesson for me as a teenager, as someone who thought that they were in love, as someone who, like, as a driver, like, I drive so much more defensively now. Like, it could have been so much worse. Yeah. Knock on wood, I'm kind of glad that it happened because it made me so much more aware of things. So there's that story.
And another story in between that lifeline for me has to do with a very life-changing wreck as well. So we're talking about wrecks with Mario.
With Mario, both with our...
Yeah, because it rolls beautifully into my next story. So the Olympics were in Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh, I remember that.
Yep. He got us tickets to go to one of the volleyball, gymnastics, I don't remember. And it was like a terrorist attack. A bomb went off in Atlanta.
Really?
Yep. And my parents called, and they made him drive us home. And so we did. And we, like, packed our shit really quickly and just, like, left, right? We just wanted to get the fuck out of the city. Mm-hmm. I mean, I genuinely was very scared, And, I mean, I was a senior in high school. I can't even believe my parents, like, let me do these things. Like, God, thanks, Mom and
Well,
Dad.
Atlanta's not like that far. It's
No,
like
no, no. It's like 3 hours.
Yeah.
But still, it's just, I don't know. But anyway, it was dinner time when we got back, and my parents were having dinner. My family's the kind of family that ate dinner every single night. And then as we got older and went to college and, grew up, we ate every Sunday. Things changed. But anyway, so we had dinner with my family. My little sister had a boyfriend who is now still her husband. And my mom asked Mario and me to take Randy home. And my sister, rode with us. Now, he had an Acura with some souped-up bass. I love bass, y'all. Like, when we get to the lifeline of where I am right now, my neighbor effing hates me because I got new speakers. And he's like, oh, my God, your bass is killing me. But we text each other and work it out. And luckily, I'm gone, like, a lot. But anyway, so he had this, like, tripping bass. And so he had these wires, right? These huge-ass wire things that went through the car, like in the back, hooked up to this bass. So, and why this is important has to do with the wreck. So we drop Randy off, and Randy lives on a rather bad road. It's very curvy. There's no guardrails or anything like that.
A lot of the roads in Tennessee are like that.
Yeah, it's really, like, you have to fucking pay attention. And, deer could run out in front of you. It's not nothing like India.
Especially at night.
Yeah,
Like,
it's bad. And if the weather was good, oh my God, thank God, the weather was good. Because this is important. The sunroof was open and the windows were down. Okay? So we're driving. And mind you, we just got back from Atlanta. We packed so fast. All of our stuff in our bags in the back. I just left everything unzipped. Like, I didn't care. I just put everything in the bags, left them unzipped. So he leans over. He puts his hand on my leg and, like, goes to give me a kiss on the cheek. And when he does, his back right tire, while he was driving, his back right tire falls off the embankment. And we roll all the way down the embankment and slide. And where we land was like this close to a big ass telephone pole that was the electricity to like half the homes over on that side of Mount Juliet. And the car, we land. I mean, it happens so fast. And like, we're upside down and we're spinning, and there's grass and water and bugs. And I think I'm like in a bad dream, And then my sister's screaming in the back the whole time. She's holding on. Yeah, she's holding on to those wires that's holding in the base. And I don't know what he's doing. But somehow, so we land upside down and it stops. And we all kind of like look at each other. And my sister's like, oh my God, I'm dead. And I was like, calm down. And the car was like a pancake, and you're hanging upside down. So we like undid our seatbelt. I was pretty thin and fit back then. And I like fit through, I like crawled out because, the windows were down, but everything was smashed out. And I somehow crawled out, and then I got my sister out, and then he got out, but you're like all crumped up. Like, I can't even, I don't know. Again, it's just like a bad dream. And then you get out, and we stood up, and we just like, look way up, and there's like 10 people up there. All these cars, and this is not really a busy road. I mean, it's a very country road, but there were probably 3 families that stopped. And now where we landed, there were all these beer bottles. I mean, if you look around, there were all these, and the guy's like, y'all been drinking? And we weren't of age to even drink. We had not been drinking. And I'm like, no, sir, we have not been drinking. And he's like, well, we called 911, the ambulance on the way. I don't even know how I had my phone, okay? Like, but I had a cell phone, and somehow, some way, I still had my phone in my hand. And this was before texting, and I called my dad and my mom. I'm like, we're okay, but we were in a wreck, and we're down the road. We were like 10 minutes from home on the same road that we live off of. So everything it sucked. It sucked. I mean, we were all okay,
It's a scary moment when that happens.
It's just, he didn't have a shirt on, and like when the windshield busted, like glass, I'm pretty sure he like has glass in his back for fucking life. But it just sucks. And, then he's out of car, and then, I don't know, it really sucked. But then he went off to college, to UT, and then I went to UT as well. Maybe 20% because of him, but probably because a lot of my friends went there too. But
it is Tennessee.
Yeah, it was a good school, and we were so good at football. But I'm not there yet because that's 20. But I did move to UT to go to college. I did want to try out for cheerleading. I had hurt my elbow. That was my first really bad injury right before cheer tryouts, and I thought my life was going to be over because my roommate, who I love, Laura, I did her wedding, and now she's moving back, and I can't wait, and she has 2 kids, and I love her husband, Jim, was my roommate, and she cheered, but it was hard, like, to balance. Like, she would get up at fucking 4 o'clock in the morning and, like, go to workouts and, like, shit that I just wasn't going to do.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Then there was, like, a semi-pro team where you, like, got paid, not a lot, and I tried out for that. So I was still cheering and making actually a little bit of money from it during college. And then I started doing, like, hair shows. And I wasn't 21 yet because, oh, my God, I had so many jobs before I was actually 21. I was a cocktail waitress.
Oh my gosh, I nannied for like 6 years, like all through high school and college, like so many different things.
Okay, so, yeah, before 21, I worked at the morgue right before I went into a summer, and I got that job because one of the gymnasts, who was like 30 at the time, I was her teacher, and I'm like, oh my God, 30 is so old. I hope when I'm 30 I can still tumble. I mean, I was 18 years old, but her name was Whitney, and I looked up to her. And then Whitney asked me if I would start babysitting for Jacob, her little boy. He was like 3 or 4 at the time, and I taught tiny tots, which he was in the little gymnastics class. And he really like took to me. And she had a night job, so I would come and nanny for her. And then her house was just a fucking wreck, you guys. And like much like you in the cards, like I'm very OCD, like clean. Like I just couldn't take it. So one night, like a week into it, I just rip her kitchen apart, and I organized the shit out of everything. And there were dishes, and there was mold, and it was just fucking gross. And so when she came home, I was like, I'm so sorry, but I like couldn't take it anymore. Like, I'm really a neat freak. And she was like, oh my God, this is amazing. She's like, can I pay you extra to like do it to every room and every closet? And I'm like, okay. She would come home and give me $100 bills, like $100 bills. Okay. Now, I didn't question anything. I didn't tell my dad anything. But in the back of my head, I'm like, this woman's slewing drugs. But I never said anything, okay? You don't judge a book by its cover. But the last thing that I cleaned out was her closet. And there were a lot of wigs in there and a lot of, like, tall boots with, like, lace. And so it did kind of cross my mind that maybe she was a stripper. And, I mean, she did have a rockin' body. But I wasn't going to judge.
Get on this subject.
I still love her. Anyway, I ended up doing her wedding, and she ended up marrying the owner of Ken's Gold Club, which was a strip club that she worked at. Anyway, so Jacob is probably like in his 20s. I would die if he was like, Miss Angela, I'm getting married. Can you do my wedding? This is when you know you have too much experience or enough experience to like retire out and like do things like this. So I don't know, a lot happened. The morgue, I started school and then did nursing and clinicals, and I hated inflicting pain on live people. Then I started working in the mental hospital. I taught swim lessons for geriatric patients. I taught swim lessons for autistic children. I mean, anything I could do to get college hours working in the field, I did it. And I got a lot of experience in learning what I did not want to do. Mm-hmm. But I knew that I loved people, and naturally it was like to go into nursing, and that was like going to be my path. But then that wasn't going to be my path anymore. But I was on the younger side, but I think I was 21 when I actually graduated college, which is like a whole nother chapter of my life that like takes a crazy effing twist. It's like, what just happened? But
We'll see you for years 20 to 25. To be continued.
That's it for this week's episode of Business Unveiled. Now that you have all the tools that you need to conquer the world and GSD, get shit done, would you share this with your friends and fellow business leaders? One thing that would really, really help us and help new listeners is for you to rate the show and leave a comment in Apple Podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you tune in and listen to Business Unveiled. You can check out the show notes at angelaprofit.com/podcast and link up with us on social media so you can share your biggest insights. And I want to know your aha moments. Until next week, remember, the profitable shifts and structures you're creating in your business help you be more present in your life. So get out there and GSD.